We are going to transition into our last interactive panel before lunch, and I'd like to welcome my colleagues Nate Morris and Matt Fry on stage. Nate is our outreach and education manager for the carbon management team, and Matt is our senior policy manager, and they are going to be sharing information with you about the community decision support tool that we just formally launched for the state of Louisiana last week. So this is the last session before we have our lunch time together. I would just also like to remind you, I mean, there should be plenty of time for networking and for following up with the Vernon Parish folks there. Tonight's dinner is meant to be all networking. We are not going to be talking at you during dinner time this evening down by the Cottonwoods, so please do take advantage of the time to make connections and learn more from your colleagues. But with that, I will turn it over to Matt and Nate.
Good morning. We will need some lavalier mics if we're able to get those, but I will go ahead and kick us off here once I can log back into my computer. Good. Okay. If we're able to switch over to these slides, it'd be great. Perfect. Well, welcome. I know it's been a long morning, but it's a beautiful morning. The sun is shining. There's a beautiful view. The government's temporarily open. We're thriving. We are thriving. But I'm very grateful to have y'all here and very grateful to be able to share in this work. I think one of the things that makes this support tool so unique and so important is the fact that it has really centered or worked to center community voice in its creation. And I think for us, that is just a recognition of the work that needs to occur, that collaborates alongside community, and that ensures community is viewed as stakeholders, right? Just as we view any other entity, a project developer or a legislator as a stakeholder, community members should be viewed as those same stakeholders. And so that's part of the work that Matt will help talk us through in just a little bit that went into this decision support tool. But we're gonna break this down in a few different sections. I'm gonna go through the tool. I'm gonna go through the tool really quickly, and then we'll have time for y'all to have Q&A. We want to ensure that that's baked into it. And then after the Q&A, we are going to time allotting, because I'm not gonna take your lunchtime. We are going to play a game. We're gonna have a little competition. Prizes are involved. It will be fierce. So I need you all to steel yourselves for that, please. And with that, I will pause there. Here's what I'll do. Matt, I'm going to pass a question over to you. If you wouldn't mind just talking us through while I get mic'd up, the way in which the community engagement process occurred to be baked into the decision support tool that we have. And while that's getting worked out, also just want to name, so this tool in and of itself is designed to help ensure that community members have access to data and project developers and others who have invested interests in carbon management siting projects have access to data to really understand how to equitably and responsibly site carbon projects. So we're going to run through this tool together in just a bit and see how it works, and then give you all the opportunity to do the same. You should have or should soon receive an email with a link to the tool as well. So if you have your laptop, it doesn't work on a phone, I apologize, but if you have your laptop and would like to scroll through it and look through it, feel free to do that as we work along.
Now, can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, yeah. Sorry, that went really smooth with the microphone, so I'm glad that worked out. But yeah, I think before we start talking about the how we engage with the communities, we should talk about the why we engage with the communities. As you know, there's quite a few tools out right now that look at social engagement, look at data that incorporate social demographics, things of that nature, but they don't. Two things that we didn't believe they did appropriately is consider the full spectrum of challenges associated with building a project. And for any of you all that have not done siting or worked on development of a project, it is really, really hard. So many constraints. So we wanted to incorporate as much of that as possible. but we didn't just want to bake it into a tool that was so totally based solely on data. We wanted to see what other people thought of it, because if you build a tool that nobody likes or nobody thinks is valuable, it's really not going to be used. So the thing that we wanted to do that was different is go out and engage with communities. So we built this kind of a draft beta model of the decision support tool, and then we went on a roadshow in Louisiana, and we can talk about why we went through Louisiana, but the point was to go and show folks what the tool is, what it could do, and then we took that feedback from them and incorporated it into the tool, into the model to make it better. And I think we'll get into that a little bit later, but that was the genesis and the rationale for the engagement and how and why we did it.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Can y'all hear me okay? Great. Okay, I will try to speak loud. I lost much of my voice when I was teaching. The teacher voice is gone. So we will push forward. So Matt, I would love to, if you wouldn't mind, walking us through, there are 3 different components to this tool, 3 different maps, right? They go along with being able to look through the data and to understand it in a really comprehensive way. So would you mind walking us through very briefly the social factors map, environmental factors map, and the comprehensive map, and what they entail, and we'll look at them in just a bit.
Sure, yeah, so the social factors map is very consistent and not terribly different than what we see like with the CEQ, EJ decision support tool. The EPA has a decision support tool associated with environmental justice. So those data are honestly based on the data that are available from census information. To build something like this, you just can't afford or reasonably expect to go out and develop new data. It's not feasible, it's not practical. So we use those social data that are available based on existing information. The environmental factors, this is where we went a little beyond what's out there at this point. That's where, and Tracy talked about it earlier, there's a lot of challenges to building these projects. So if you look just at the social factor, you get a biased view. So it may tell you that this place where you won't impact any communities or any people is an awesome place to build a project, but the rationale behind that is there may not be people there because it's protected habitat for a certain species, it's a massive forested wetland, some reason that you just can't build in that location. So we wanted to use the environmental data, which is robust, to help further inform the decision-making process. And then the comprehensive map is just that. It layers them together, it makes the data talk in a uniform way and provides an overall view of development scenarios.
Thank you, Matt. So let's actually go ahead and just jump right into the tool itself for the sake of time. This is what the tool looks like. So when community members or anybody who accesses this tool logs in, this is what they will see through some incredible work from Matt and Diane and Bridget and Emma and others on the team. This came together and was launched just last week. So we're incredibly excited about it. This story map will take folks through an introduction about the tool. It will walk them through sort of an intro to carbon management as well to help ensure that we're level setting information. When we receive feedback from those community events that Matt was talking about, one of the things that folks mentioned is wanting to ensure that the language of it is accessible. So we were really intentional about trying to ensure that it was it wasn't as jargony as it could have been, and that everybody who jumps into this and wants to access this tool is able to do so and not have barriers that may keep them from being able to fully engage. So let's just go straight to the maps themselves, because that's what y'all are here for, right? So as we go down, we will see 3 different categories of these maps that Matt just laid out. And the first one's a social map. So as we open it up, you're going to see the state of Louisiana eventually broken down into different census tracts right here. So Matt, will you just quickly explain what these different colors and factor scores mean?
Yeah, it's a heat map. For those of you that are familiar with a heat map, the brighter the color, the more challenging. That's the route we went with this. It uses, as I mentioned before, those demographic data that are already available, and then it ranks each census tract as to the percentile they rank in compared to the rest of the state. So anything less than the 50 percentile is gray, because the challenges associated with that to building projects are less from a social factor, and then 90 to 100 are the most challenging.
Thanks. And so let's say we wanted to see a census tract right outside of New Orleans. We could zoom in, we could click on it, and then what happens is it'll populate data about that particular census tract on the left-hand side here. So you see these categories up at the top. you can, on the overall social factor score, scroll through this left-hand side, and you will see the categories broken into subcategories, with each of these different values that come out to this factor score of that percentile of vulnerability that Matt was talking about compared to the rest of the state, right? So, for instance, if we wanted to scroll through this, we could see, let's look at the health category, that in this census tract right here outside of New Orleans, about 23.7% of adults age 18 or older have asthma. The average life expectancy is 72.2. So these different pieces of information are critical not just to understanding the equity concerns around siting carbon management projects, but there also can be used for other critical social projects as well for communities across the state. And I know, Matt, one of the things that we worked on in those conversations with community members across Louisiana was in the ranking of these different categories. Do you want to kind of take us through that process?
Yeah, initially all the data were ranked the same just because we didn't have enough information to prioritize those. So that was the objective of going out and talking with people. We got information of what's most important in the communities, and then we were able to take that back to actually normalize the data and make it into a usable format to better inform the model on the demographic side.
And if you wanted to see those different data broken down and not just scrolling here, you can click it. It'll bring you back out, so you will have to scroll back into that particular census tract. But if you wanted to see those individually, you could do so by clicking the category at the top. So that's a very quick overview of the social factors map. I'll jump in, again, for the sake of time, to the environmental map that Matt was also referencing. So this will look a little bit different. Matt, I know you kind of touched on it earlier. Can you explain how these scoring categories are broken down in a different way than the social map?
Yeah, these are based from a 1 to a 4. And honestly, a 4 means that you're precluded by law or regulation from building in that area. 1 means that there's very little environmental constraints to building in that area. As you'll see, as Nate mentioned, this looks very different because the data are much finer scale. Like some of these data are 30 meter pixels versus census tracts, so a much better scale.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you can scroll through this, and again, same thing on the left-hand side. You can scroll down and see the different subcategories. You can also, if you want to understand where different structures in the built environment already exist, and again, the scrolling back in, we will get there. You can utilize the map layers on the right-hand side of the map. So this is another tool that's built in to help support that opportunity to, have that. Let me get out of here. Sorry, to have that deeper understanding of what's happening in this particular census tract. So let's say that I wanted to see, for instance, the number of industrial facilities in and around the census tract. If I go to the map layers, I could click out of the score, which would take that coloring away, and then I could click on industrial facilities, and it would pop those up, and if I wanted to click on them individually, I could learn about what these different plants are, their overall emissions, et cetera, all across these communities. I could also do the same for power facilities, and I could do the same for existing CO2 lines. Any of these different things, you can toggle in and out of these map layers to see where these things exist and overlay in these different census tracts and around the areas where we're talking about project siting or other things as well. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to this map?
No.
Okay, thanks. And then we'll go to the comprehensive map, which Matt mentioned, combines these two different factors and pieces of data together. So as that loads, you'll see that these are broken down differently. Do you want to explain how eventually the polygons are different from the census tracts?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, the data are different scales for the social and the environmental factors. So we had to normalize those to make them speak to one another better. So kind of a standard way of doing this is to build these hexagonal polygons, if you will. I think they're 10 kilometers in size, if I remember correctly. But anyway, it just gives us an opportunity as you layer those GIS data on top of one another to make the numbers actually speak.
And if you wanted to see beyond this one, let me click out of this real quick. If you wanted to see beyond just these little hexagonal layers and you wanted to kind of get a broader sense of a larger area, and the vulnerabilities and everything else that exists within that area, you can click on up here the siting tool, and then you can click on draw polygon at the bottom, and then you'll just create your own little piece of art. And when you double click at the bottom, you can click through and see the combined score for that area that you drew. You can see the environmental score in particular, and you can see the social factors score in particular. So Matt, why did y'all decide to include this tool in it outside of just being able to see it on a hexagon by hexagon basis?
Yeah, I think this is what kind of sets the tool apart from the others that are available right now. It gives you this combined score, which gives a more realistic look of what the potential challenges or opportunities associated with building a project would be. And we should say that we've never meant for this tool to be the siting tool for building a project. It's so that everybody can come together and have the same amount of information when they go to the real phase of project development, which is conversations and the procedures associated with building it. So this was just to give everybody a more comprehensive view of what's available for project siting.
Yeah, thank you. And so with that very, very overarching view of what can be a much longer conversation, do want to pause and give about 10 minutes to questions if anybody has some that they'd like to ask, or anything that you want to see in particular. Happy to dive into it here. Yes.
The question was, what's our, oh, nice, you got a mic.
All right. This is really terrific. Just wondering what your plan is for getting the word out about the tool with a variety of different stakeholders in the region.
Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Yeah, I mean, we can. So like we said, we were able to launch this last week, thankfully, through a Herculean effort by some amazing folks on the team. And it is publicly available at this point. We have several blogs that have been posted on our websites to help folks understand the different nuances of the tool. And we've also been working, I know Diane is doing amazing work to launch a social media campaign, and then working with other stakeholders as well to spread the word, if you want to elaborate on that more.
No, and I'll just add that this is the first. The first is the most challenging, which is why it's taken a bit of time, and that's just the reality of when you build something complex like this. But we do have plans to build it out in additional states in the future, and try to help inform other states just however we're able to prioritize and finance the build out of the tool into the future.
Yes.
Too much exercise. Yeah, I've loved this decision support tool. I'm sort of obsessively looking at it for a few months already. And I guess one question that seems to come up a lot when talking to community members or stakeholders is, where are existing projects? Where are they planned? Things like that. And I was wondering, would there be, I mean, I know you guys are, pretty well spent, I'm sure, already making this, but if you do have plans to build on it anymore, would that be something you would consider doing, is adding sort of a map that also overlays where are planned or existing or proposed projects, obviously in different colors, and so for communities and stakeholders to review?
Yeah, and I think honestly from a data perspective, that would be a pretty simple layer to add into the future. There's challenges right now with competitive nature of projects and confidentiality that we didn't prioritize that in this layer, but as Nate showed, there's opportunities where you can either upload GIS files or you can build your project polygon to where those are. So you can do it, I guess, with the tool now. We just didn't build it in automatically right off the bat, but good point and good thought to think about in the future.
And I think that, I see two hands in the back. I think that connects to that piece of community engagement, right, that's so important to the development of this tool. On the website, folks can still submit feedback and submit ideas and questions to help us continue to build it out. So we want to ensure that it can continue to grow and meet needs as they develop, or as folks bring things to our attention that maybe weren't seen before. So thank you.
Yeah.
So Matt, you mentioned other states. You have a lot of resources in this room and around the country. What can people in this room do to help you either figure out what state to do next or get the data you need to build out the states, but help you keep this going? Because obviously it seems like a terrific resource and people love it, but what help do you need, and how can people help you get that?
So the data, like I can say, right, the next state that we're going to build out will be Colorado, just based on the challenges and opportunities in Colorado. We're already moving forward with a contract to do that. The challenges we faced and the opportunities that we look at, funding, right? This is not cheap to build something this in-depth. So that's one of the challenges we faced, and we're certainly happy and pleased. I mean, Rolf, Patrice, they're right there. We can have these conversations the next couple of days. But the data, the actual data that's used to build the tool, these are all publicly available data. We just have to have somebody with the ability to build that model. And I've worked with SWCA consultants for 20 years, and they're who we're using to build the model. Where we get into the real challenges and where we need help from people on the ground is the actual stakeholder engagement. Like, I live in Wyoming. When we went to Louisiana, it's not my backyard. And so you need somebody with the credibility and the understanding of who those people are. And that's where the challenges are. And that's additional space that we could use help from people in the states as we broaden.
Hey, just a quick question about the normalization that you mentioned. You said that you went out into communities to, gain opinions on that. Did you follow like a structured approach, like a multi-criteria decision approach to, decide on what normalization should look like in terms of ranking? Or is it just a case of sort of interviews and then you guys put numbers on it? And is there any way within the tool where you can sort of, put your own customized normalization factors in there so you can work out, what you think is personally most important?
Yeah, good question. It wasn't that statistically rigorous. We did dot exercises amongst folks. So the numbers of dots in each of the criteria were added at the end, and then the numbers were, they changed the numbers. They didn't change the values. They changed the numbers so they fit into the tool to actually work from that perspective. Initially, our hope was to actually build out these models where there would be those histograms that Nate showed. You would be able to modify those histograms based on what's most important to you. It's just, it got so big and so sluggish that it was really challenging because this is, based on the web. So there's give and take, but there is that potential. It just makes it pretty unwieldy for use.
Yeah, my question, there we go.
Gotcha.
Thank you. My question has to do with, obviously, if you have an area where a project will work environmentally, how that interacts with the social side, because one of the things that a lot of projects see is that in some cases a very disadvantaged social area would actually like a project because they feel very good about the risk reward for what the facilities and whatever bring, where other communities push it away. And so how is it, what's kind of the current assumptions in that, and how is that dealt with in the model?
Yeah, we had those questions quite a bit when we were out talking with folks. And you can look at like a 1 or a 4 as being an ideal location to build a project, or maybe not, as you mentioned. The point of this is it gives everybody the same amount and the same type of information. So when you actually start talking with people, you know whether what the data are, and then whether or not that's the location that you want to move further with on a project. So the tool's not making judgment, it's not passing judgment, it's just providing data to initiate those conversations.
Could you both say a little bit more about who you envision the main users being for the tool? Yeah, I mean, I think the main user can be truly anybody who wants to access this information and data. I think that equity of access that we heard a little bit about in the last panel is so critical, right? How do we ensure that everybody who wants to know and have access to the same information can easily do so? So my hope would be, as somebody who's coming from a background of community organizing and engagement, my hope would be that community members would feel that they could access this information, right? And that they would be able, in any project or any advocacy piece that they were pushing forward, to be able to have this at their fingertips and say, this is actually what's happening in our community. and we have the numbers to show that and to back that up. And I think the same is true for project developers and decision makers, that they would be able to look at this data and deeply understand the ways in which they can navigate these spaces and these conversations in a way that truly does center equity as best they can utilizing this data. And I think that would be, from my perspective, the hope as to how tools like this could be leveraged.
Yeah, and I could just add a little bit, like a regulator, a project proponent, and a community member typically come into these conversations very myopically. So it makes it hard to have those conversations and look broadly at what the opportunities and challenges are. So as Nate mentioned, it sounds corny, but this is for everybody to have the same amount of information for the conversation.
Thanks. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I agree with everyone that this is a really awesome tool, and I was really excited to hear that Colorado is coming next. I thought it was really interesting that you said the social factors are given different weight based on the input that you all got. And I was wondering if you could tell us just a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, methodologies are all built into the tool, so you can look in deeper to figure out exactly what happened. But yeah, what the social factors, as we mentioned when we went around at the end of the conversation, we went through this process, and there's also a description of what the engagement process was that we did. But they did a dot exercise where at the beginning people had a very oftentimes limited understanding of this, and then at the end they were able to vote on which of those social factors would most important and something that they would most prioritize during their conversations. And they were given stickers, literally stickers, that they put onto the board to vote on it. So we took those data at the end after it was all culminated and then weighted those factors based on those votes.
So Matt, Nate, I just wanted to further build on like who can use this or who's our target audience. You mentioned Diana's working on a social media campaign. We sent out a press release. We've sent the tool and information to all of our known stakeholders in the state of Louisiana, including everyone that was reached out to or participated in the focus group process that we held. And in addition, on the Action Alliance website and in the tool, there is a video tutorial that Nate has put together to also hopefully make the demonstration and use of it not seem so, to kind of reduce the barriers of being overwhelmed by trying to use a mapping tool. So if there's any suggestions all of you have as well about how to better socialize this in the state of Louisiana, ways to get it, into community members' hands or other things, as Nate mentioned, there's a feedback slot on the website.
Thanks. And if you would like to hear my voice in a monotone way for 12 minutes, you can go watch the video. It's beautiful.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions? We do have an activity. I'm going to take a pulse of the room to see how we're feeling. Okay, could we grab the slides back up on the screen for me? So, indulge me. We wanted to make this as engaging and as interactive as we can for a pre-lunch session. So we do have some prizes, as I mentioned earlier. Fear not, they're in my bag. We have little stress balls shaped like the earth, right? So whether you're stressed about work or your commute or just the general state of the republic, don't worry, we have a stress ball for you that you can grab. And we would love, if folks want to engage in this, we would love to hop into a scavenger hunt to give you all the chance to utilize the tool yourselves and win a beautiful globe stress ball. Are we feeling that? I want to. It's an exciting vibe that I just received from the room. Do we want to do that, or we want to continue? Yes, great. Okay, cool. So this is I love it. This is the URL that you can go to, tinyurl.com/GPIDST. We love a good acronym. GPI Decision Support Tool. And once you are there, I will wait. And just a little show of hands. If you're there, you can just give me a hand raise. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Couple folks. That might be able to do it. Excellent. Okay, so here's what we are going to do. I am going to give you all a data point that you need to find. the first few folks, and we can do this vary a little bit based on time. Once you find it, raise your hand, and we will come around, and not throw it at you. We will come around and hand you a stress ball, okay? All right, so the first challenge for you is find the asthma rates in a census tract anywhere around the city of Baton Rouge. So anywhere in Baton Rouge, somewhere on one of those maps. Oh, we have somebody who already has it. Let me grab, oh my goodness. I wasn't ready. Love it. I'm checking work as a former high school teacher. 62%. Excellent, amazing. We have one winner. Who else? Oh, we have another. Look at this. We did it. Awesome. We got 2. Anyone else? Oh, we're getting close. Is this social map? Social map. Yeah. We have another one. Amazing. We love it. Well, I'm just going to give all these away.
Took a second.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh. I'll sprint. These are going fast. We're stressed out here. I love it. Okay. Amazing. Amazing job. Okay. Oh, we've got 2 more. Okay. Yes. Excellent. Okay. And we'll flip to the next slide. We'll do one more. Perfect. Thank y'all. Come on, participation. And if you... Oh, I'm so sorry, Shannon. Yeah. Amazing. Here you go. Okay, we'll do one more.
I can advance.
Yeah,
it
you want to
for
click it for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Oh, that's exciting. Okay, any census tract with an environmental score of 4 anywhere in the state, an environmental score of 4 anywhere in that census tract. Oh, you did on the phone. That is impressive. I love it. So the environmental score will be not on the social factors map. If you win and want to share it with a friend because you've already won, you did it, Joe. We love it. Just no stress over here. Who else?
Cameron Parrish.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else? Environmental score of 4. Yeah, our whole table has it. Got it. You doing? Is it? Oh no, is it? So just click on anyone that has it. It's literally maroon. Oh, you did it. Here you go. Yeah. Excellent. Anybody else checking work? Okay. We've got one over here. I know, God. Oh, that's okay. I'm going to get my steps in. It's excellent. Beautiful. Here you go. Thank you. I have one more stress ball for a lucky human. Or, honestly, I can keep it. Okay. Thank y'all for indulging. That was beautiful. We love a good scavenger hunt. And please do... in addition to us pushing this information out, please do utilize it as well. And if you know folks, whether it's in Louisiana or, God, I'm out of breath, whether it's in Louisiana or elsewhere, right? I think just knowing or looking through these resources and seeing what can be possible and accessible is really key to building out things beyond just GPI doing it. There are opportunities to expand and do these things in communities across the country to ensure that folks have access to this really rich and important data. So I'm happy to dismiss folks to lunch unless we want to pause for 3 minutes. I shouldn't have said that to a mic. We good? You can go to lunch. Thank
Enjoy
you.
your lunch.
Thank you for your time.